So this is the app design class and entrepreneurship, of course, and we're gonna get straight into it. Okay, straight into it. We have coding over here. We have, a line of basically random code, a bunch of, basically random code. And I wanted to start this off with addressing, a common thought or question that many people have, which is whether coding is important for building apps. And the truth is, yeah, it is important for building apps. You do need to know how to program or code, how to tell the app what to do. And yeah, that's exactly what code does. It instructs a computer what to do. But that being said, just hear me out, to the very end, because even if you don't like coding, you can still create apps. I just wanted to address this. So yes, coding, the lines of code that you see over here or everywhere, it basically instructs a computer what to do. And code isn't this daunting thing that, some people seem to magically be gifted at. It's not anything like that. What code really is, it's like a language. I'm talking to y'all in English. Code is basically the way we talk to a computer. It's that's basically all it is. It's a language. It's a language that we use to talk to computers. And it enables users or the people who use computers or use apps, programs to interact with the app or the computer in a certain way. And without code, apps are basically like digital paintings. This is a cool analogy, and here's why. Without without code, apps would basically be nothing. But like, just for the sake of understanding, without the code of telling a computer what to do, you just see the design of an app. Like you see all the entire white. If you go to YouTube, you see the entire white screen with maybe a few subscription icons, search bar, whatever, the YouTube logo. You won't actually see any of the videos. You won't be able to click on any of the videos. You won't be able to search for your favorite channel. That's because the code is what tells the app what to do when you, the user, enters something in the search bar or clicks on a video. So it's at the end of the day, how are computers supposed to know what to do? We have to tell them. And the reason why I said, even if you don't want to learn coding, I do encourage y'all to, learn coding. It's not that hard. It requires just a little bit of, dedication. But even if you don't want to, or even if you want to create an app first, there are many different tools you can use to create an app. I've shown this, in previous classes, and I'll show you it maybe towards the end of this class as well through v0.dev. And, it's just one of the many tools that are out there. I encourage you to do a Google search and you'll find many, many tools to create apps. Okay, so that's just getting that out of the way. Code is basically how we talk to apps and for computers, and how we tell computers how to interact with us or how to do what we tell them to do. Okay, and that brings us to something called a dev environment. Okay, pretty long word. You have the word environment over here, dev. What is dev supposed to mean? Well, dev, it means developer or development. So dev is a short form for development, and one of the probably the most common thing you think about when you hear the word dev environment is an IDE. Okay, just like last class we had API, this is another three-letter acronym. So an IDE stands for an integrated development environment. That's a pretty daunting word. I don't even want to try to count how many characters it is. Well, at least it appears daunting, but it's very, very simple. An IDE it's like a platform. It's like YouTube kind of, in the same way YouTube is a platform. And IDE is also a platform. It's a very different platform though. It has programming tools, all the things you could just type, all the different places you could write code on. It allows you to test the code to ensure that, you type the correct kind of code. It has something called version control. Version control is pretty cool. It's like search history. If any of y'all have seen your search history, version control is kind of similar. So in case you accidentally delete code or you intentionally remove code and you want to see that code, once again later on, version control allows you to do that because version control basically allows you to see previous versions of something, previous versions of code. And for all of y'all who are interested in, Roblox development, game development, or whatever, IDEs can really be handy here. I'm not entirely sure whether Roblox has its own IDE or you use different IDE. I can't remember that it's been a while. But IDE, IDEs are, the place to go for developing apps. And the programming tools that IDEs contain are some of the key parts. And it'll basically an IDE allows you to, post code, or you could just type code down on an IDE just like how you would, on a document, but it really gives meaning to it. One of the most common IDEs is Microsoft Visual Studio, is VS Code. Yeah, Microsoft, or I think of Visual Studio. Yeah. So it's a common IDE. And yeah, so that's IDE in short. I want to give you all a few moments though, ask me some questions because we just covered two topics straight into it, app coding and dev environments. Do any of y'all have any questions? Okay. Opening the chat. Nope, no questions. Okay. So, and there's three things, and these are pretty short, short, clean, pretty slides. We have something called unit testing. This involves testing like a single line of code or a single part of code. I'm not sure if some of y'all might be in the Python class from before, and whatever we're talking here, it kind of aligns with that. If y'all are not in the Python class, that's perfectly fine because these are pretty easy to understand topics. You have various different lines of code, and each line of code does something. You have one line of code that just prints, a word on your screen. For example, you could say hello, and you want to make sure that you've typed the syntax or you've typed that code correctly. So just know that unit testing is testing single parts of code. Like, for example, in this previous slide over here, you want to test, let's say, this line of code. So unit testing allows you to just test one part. That's why it's called unit. So unit one. Okay. And we have another form of testing, and we're almost done. This is really short and simple. We have integrated testing. Another, pretty long word. It's testing parts of code together in groups. So it's basically you're bringing a lot of different units into one, and you're testing them all together. That's an integrated testing. Okay. We're just gonna go on. So unit testing, individual blocks. Integrated testing, you're testing the whole you're testing the whole house, basically, house of code. And finally, user interface testing. You're testing, honestly, this is probably the coolest part, testing how pretty the app is. Does the app look the same way you want it to look? Does it, do all the colors match? Do all the icons, the buttons you want, a lot of buttons, do all those buttons work properly? And of course, all in all, is your app very appealing? Does it look great? Or does it look like how you wanted it to look? That's what user interface testing is all about. And of course, at the heart of all of this, when you're developing a user interface, you want it to be easy for the user to use. At the end of the day, an app is for the user. It's for the customer. So you want the customer to be able to use your app well. So that's what user interface testing is. Pretty cool. And of course, we have another aspect, analytics. So this is also an entrepreneurship class. I'm teaching you all how to create apps that you can sell one day. And there's some key numbers that you want to know for your app. You want to know the number of users who've used your app or the number of, people who've downloaded your app from the App Store, the Google Play Store, from whichever store. And of course, I think what all of us would want to know is how much money we've made. And this isn't just for apps. If y'all develop Roblox games, I'm sure y'all will know that, of course, people make Robux from games. There are also ways to track the amount of Robux you make from your game. And of course, how long someone uses your app. The last letter was cut off. But like how long someone uses your app. In many cases, some of us probably use YouTube for maybe 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Who knows how long people use it. Try not to use it for that long, guys, because, get some fresh air, get some, green, look outside at nature. That's why I have a nature slideshow background over here. The point is, how long someone uses your app is also an indicator, or it shows how much people like your app, how much people find your app, enjoyable, how much fun people have on your app. So these are three analytics. And when you're running a business to say, when you want to make money, you want to find ways to increase all of these analytics. There's certain types of analytics that you don't want. There's certain types of numbers that you want to decrease. Uh, for example, that's the amount of, let's say, people who log off of your app, the amount of people who for example, skip ads or choose not to purchase, things on your app. From the perspective of an entrepreneur, you want to increase the number of purchases made on your app because, of course, you want to, make more money from your app. And but in most cases, a lot of the analytics of an app, especially the ones here, you want to increase. You want to increase the number of users who use your app. You want to increase the number of people who download your app from, the App Store or the Google Play Store. I think for most people, you want to increase the amount of money you make from your app. And you want to honestly increase at least the length of at least like the overall length of how long someone uses your app. And, maybe you don't want them to use your app for 2, 3, 4 hours. That's a different thing. But you don't want people to just, click on your app, use it for 10 seconds, and just go off because they aren't really going to be doing much with your app, in 10 seconds. There's very few things that you could do with most apps in 10 seconds. So you kind of want to, increase these analytics. And being an entrepreneur is, of course, making your app, very appealing, very exciting for users and helping them, of course, solve their problems. At the end of the day, being an entrepreneur is about solving problems. And if your app solves their problem, if YouTube allows you to see videos that teach you something, or that teach you something, or help you talk to someone, then you're solving a problem for them, and they're naturally going to use your app for longer. And in many cases, they might even purchase things in your app because it actually helps them. So that's the kind of approach you want to take to everything in app design. You want to find ways to make your app useful and to make it exciting. So that's all analytics is. It's basically just, these numbers